Welcome to Kingdom Money Moves. And today I'm so excited. I have my absolutely beautiful daughter, Alexa, with me today. Hey, Alexa.
Hi.
So, Alexa, you're a senior in high school. How's your senior year going?
It's pretty good. I'm glad, though, it's almost over.
You're glad it's almost over. Okay, so
Yeah.
listen, Alexa. Have you been watching the Kingdom Money Move series on YouTube?
I have.
You have. And so
Yes.
tell me, what do you think about the discussion on resolutions?
I believe it's very useful, and resolutions can make us better with our personal lives, whether it's dealing with finances or just our personal goals.
Gotcha. So I like that. So
But what happens when it's almost the end of January and you haven't followed through with it yet?
and I told the audience last time that only 8% of us actually follow through on resolutions. So that's a good one. It's January, and let's say you made a resolution this year to make sure you're not last minute on getting those assignments done. And now you're still last minute. Well, number one is, did you do a quality resolution? Remember, it's not just, well, this year I'm going to try to get my assignments done. It's like every day at 3:00, I'm going to do boom. You have to make it specific so that it's a quality resolution. So the first thing I would say is, if you're already falling behind, you need to check out your resolution. Is it a quality resolution with details, times, dates? You get what I'm saying? Okay. Number two, I suggested last time that you might want to get an accountability partner, but if you already see you're falling short, get an accountability partner. So let's say yours was, I want to get my homework done on time. Your friend Ashley or Brooklyn, you might want to call them up. You know what I'm talking about? And say, listen, would you mind every Wednesday at 3:00 or 4:00 calling me up and reminding me? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe if we had an accountability partner, it will help us to stay on top of our resolution. Okay, how about the thing that you resolved to do or not do? Was it something you really wanted or something you thought you should do? I think you should get a resolution around something you really want. Because if it's something, well, I should lose weight, but if you don't really want to if that's not what you want to focus on, then don't make that a resolution. Make your resolution something you actually want to do, and that'll help you follow through. Okay. Sometimes you're not following through because you're not at your big why. You don't understand, why should I really try this thing?
So what is a why?
A why is that thing that makes you you. It's what propels you to want to be and to do more. It's that thing that pushes you, because deep within, I know that I'm following my purpose and my dream. And that's what the why is.
How do I figure out what's important to me?
So that's good, because there are people who don't know their own gifts, their talents. They say, I'm not good at anything, or I don't know what I should do. And that's kids, adults, and alike. And I think even I'm using me. Sometimes within my life, I'm like, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I doing enough? And so that why helps you get there. So there's different things you can do to try to get to your why. One, how about one day, get by yourself, get a piece of paper, because you know I'm a paper person, get a pencil or a pen, pray, and say, Lord, help me to put down whatever you pour into me, and just write a letter to yourself. Dear Michelle, today was a difficult day because, or people say I'm good at this, or I don't even know what I'm supposed to do in life. And just maybe sit down quietly and write a letter to yourself, and you might find things out. Something may come to you, because I believe God and the Holy Spirit will bring something to you to help you know more about you. Okay, how about this? Take a personality test. I know Myers-Briggs has one. And maybe when you find out more about people with your type of personality, you say, oh, I could do that. Or you get what I'm saying? That might be another one. This is a cool one. Attend a quiet or a silent retreat. Now, here in Atlanta, there is a place in Sandy Springs where you got to pay some money, but you stay there for the weekend, and they give you certain topics, and then you go in your room. There's no cell phones, no internet. And you just silently think about these things. But sometimes we just need to push away, be silent, so we can figure out what it is we want to do. Okay. Sometimes we don't know what our why is because there's things distracting us in our brain. Like, we're upset because years ago somebody did something to us and we haven't worked those things out. So it may be time to like just have difficult conversations. There's people you may need to talk to, that a girlfriend, maybe friendships have gone awry. And so you may need to like set aside time and have that difficult conversation. And sometimes clearing the air helps you to like woosah and figure out things on your own. Okay, one more thing. Sometimes for some people, they got to go to the end of their life. Like, how do I want to be remembered? If I want to be remembered as a person that blah, 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 then I need to be doing those things. The bottom line is, if it's January and you still are not quite following through on the things that you resolved to do or not do, it could be that your why isn't there. You need to take a minute to focus in on you so that you can figure out what it is that will propel me so that I can create a quality resolution and for real follow through.
So on the last episode, you talked about financial resolutions, and I want to learn more about that, especially since tax season is around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask you a couple questions about income tax?
Yes, girl, you can. Yes.
So my first question is, what is income tax?
So income tax is a tax that's imposed by the government on the income of people and businesses. So how do people get income? They work for someone, they earn money, and when you earn that money, let's say at McDonald's, they're going to tax that income. Or businesses. You could either own your own business or even big businesses. Big businesses earn money because they either sell something to someone or they provide a service to someone. And that money that they earn from selling or giving a service, they have to pay taxes off of that. And that's why they call it income tax. The government is taxing the income that's coming in.
Have Americans always paid taxes?
No. Americans have not always paid taxes. I think it was, 1862. In order to fund the Civil War, America came up with a tax. They needed some money to help fund the war. And once the war was over, they got rid of the tax. But in 1913, they had this Revenue Act. And from that, they created the Form 1040 that follow us even now. And we start paying taxes since 1913. But prior to then, no taxes until the Civil War need to be funded.
What's a 1040 form?
A 1040 form is the form that the IRS uses, or the government, Internal Revenue Service, to figure out, for us to figure out how much is our fair portion of taxes. So they created that form. It's been redesigned, more lines added and subtracted throughout the years, but that's the basic form that we citizens have to complete in order to find out what portion of taxes we need to pay off of our income.
What does the government do with our tax money?
Good question, because I know there are a lot of, first of all, most people don't want to pay taxes. And they don't want to pay it because they're not like, what is the government doing for me anyway? And so that's a great question. And I think most of us, adults and kids alike, don't even know what this money is supposed to be used for. So let's talk about some of those things. Number one, public education. If I sent you to public school, which you don't go to, but if you went to public school, I can go in, I'll just sign you up, and that's it. I don't have to pay. Like when I go to college, when you go to college, you have to pay. When you go to private school, you have to pay. But public education is free. And I say free because tax dollars are covering it, but each individual citizen doesn't have to pay a fee themselves. They do that because they want their citizens to be educated. And so therefore, they don't want to charge a fee to go to school. So that's one of the things our tax dollars goes towards, is public education for our kids. Okay. National security. To help keep us safe from potential harm from other countries, we have the military, we have different types of security, we have the Defense Department. All of these things help to keep the citizens safe, and that's covered by our tax dollars. As a matter of fact, 7% of the budget the government has is for security. It's for national security. Okay. The government also funds major health programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. what they call Obamacare, and Children's Health Insurance Program. And that's a program that some parents, if they don't make enough money to have insurance for their children, it allows kids to still go to the hospitals if they get sick. And 25% of the budget actually goes toward those health programs. That's a quarter of the budget. That's pretty big. Okay. Some of our tax dollars helps low to middle income families with things like unemployment insurance. So if I'm working, I lose my job, I don't have any money. I got to take care of you, right?
Right.
Well, there's unemployment insurance. Some of that comes from our tax dollars. There's food stamps. There's low income housing assistance. So some people are on different type of programs where they'll help pay for your rent so that you can live. And then there's programs to help abused and neglected children. So you heard of DFACS and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Government is covering those things. Okay. You got federal employees, people who worked for the government. When they retire, it pays for that. It pays for our veterans. It pays for medical and scientific research. Our roads, our post office, our bridges. All of that come from tax dollars. But 7% of the budget is interest on debt that we have. So for an example, the government gets money from us and it has a budget. But if the actual expenses actually come out to be higher than the budget, or let's just say there's a natural disaster or something like what COVID-19, they gave out stimulus money and all that. They will borrow money in order to cover those expenses. And then we have to pay the interest on that debt. So about 7% of the budget goes towards that. So all of this stuff costs money. And the government's only source of revenue is us. And that's why there's an income tax.
Well, since the government keeps borrowing money from different places and people, doesn't that mean the national debt keeps growing?
The national debt will grow because the government, like us, if we spend more money than we have, your debt will go up. And that's a problem because the government continues to spend more money than the citizens are actually putting in.
Wow. That's a lot of stuff that our tax money goes to. I
It
didn't
is.
even know that.
It is.
So is it tough to get your taxes done?
So I would say no, but that Form 1040 we talked about earlier has been redesigned over the years. As a matter of fact, almost every year there's a new line taken away. They try to simplify it under, in 2018, President Trump said, we're going to make this thing simpler. And to me, it's nonetheless. They try to change the form up. And so because there's lots of lines and details, some people are intimidated by it because you don't want to mess with the government and not pay your correct taxes. So therefore, to some people, it's difficult. But if you have a simple job, you worked at McDonald's or I'm not even gonna say that, but you have a simple job, maybe no children, you don't own a home, you may want to do your own taxes because it really isn't that difficult. But I can understand people who have kids and college costs, and they have their own business, and they may have sold some stock, or they got rental property, or they got multiple jobs. Or they work in different states. They may say this is way too much for me. So to them, it may be difficult, but there is the form. And what the government does every year is send out a booklet. Well, they have it online where there's explains in detail all the things you need to know to fill out the form. So it is possible to do it yourself and is not difficult. But because you don't want to mess up with the government, a lot of people will just decide, you know, I'm gonna let someone else handle that for them.
I can get
And as
that.
a matter of fact, 58% of Americans tend to pay someone to do their taxes because they're not trying to mess that thing up.
If I work, is a lot of my money going towards that?
When you work, you do have to pay taxes. Your employer, the person you work for, they're mandated by law to take out certain tax dollars out your check. So you can't even say, don't take that out my check. They have to by law. So let's talk about some of those. The first one is FICA. FICA is 7.65% of your gross pay. So you work someplace, they pay you $10 an hour for so many hours. That's the pay. And then from that amount, 7.65%, which is almost what percent?
8%.
8%. Almost 8% of your money is gone immediately to FICA. And FICA is the federal insurance Contribution Act. FICA actually is two taxes in one. It covers Social Security and Medicare. Social Security is money they put aside for you so when you age, and you're no longer working, there's money set aside for you. It's also there in case you become disabled. You can tap into Social Security for disability. And then finally, if I work, and unfortunately I passed, there's money for my survivors. If you're my child, then there's money there. That's Social Security. That is part of FICA. But there's also Medicare. Medicare is a health insurance, a government health insurance program that's there for you when you're 65 years old and older. Or for anyone if they're disabled. That's 7.65% of your check, almost 8% of your check is going to that I don't care what. Thank you for joining Kingdom Money Moves. Now, we'll finish this conversation next time, but if you will like or subscribe to this channel, you'll be alerted when our second part comes back on. Thank you.